Lazy beggar. Do I look like Father Christmas? Cynthia's hand struck the man's cheek so sharply that people at the supermarket gate gasped. The bottled water she held shook slightly. Behind her, the black SUV gleamed under the hot Lego sun. The homeless man, wearing a torn ash coat, did not react. He only looked at her with tired, damp eyes. Lazy beggar, Cynthia repeated coldly. Do I look like Father Christmas? Just then, the glass doors slid open. Kennedy Williams, her billionaire husband, stepped out carrying a shopping bag. When he saw the man, he bowed slightly. The crowd grew silent. Cynthia's smile faltered. Ken. What are you doing? She asked. Kennedy straightened slowly, his face stiff with anger. Cynthia, do you even know who this is? Before she could answer, he lifted his hand. Rage flickered in his eyes, but the homeless man reached up, held Kennedy's wrist gently and whispered, Don't. The air froze. Cut. That morning had started like a perfect picture. Cynthia woke in silk sheets inside their Banana Island mansion. The sea breeze touched the curtains while the city was still waking. She loved mornings because mornings were mirrors. She saw power in them. Her wardrobe gleamed with gold jewelry and designer gowns. Her phone filled with messages from friends seeking her presence and strangers seeking her approval. Since marrying Kennedy, the young CEO of Kentech, Cynthia had grown into a bold, sharp version of herself. People moved aside when she passed. Drivers opened doors before she asked. Waiters rushed to pour her drink. She had worked hard to appear powerful, and now she expected the world to treat her that way. Don't forget the charity gala, Kennedy called from the hallway as he adjusted his navy agbada. We're donating a new children's ward this month. I know, Cynthia replied, sliding on a sleek black wig. I'll be perfect. Kennedy smiled, weary but soft. Be kind, Cynthia. I am kind, she said, kissing his cheek. To people who deserve it. His eyes lingered on her. Everyone deserves dignity. She waved it off with a laugh. You and your lessons. He didn't argue. Kennedy avoided conflict. He preferred building. From a laptop on a kitchen table, he had built Kentech into a company that guarded banks, tracked fleets, and secured entire cities. He loved quiet mornings and humble people. He loved Cynthia too, enough to warn her without raising his voice. After breakfast, Cynthia chose to shop at Royal Square Supermarket, the massive one near the roundabout that smelled of fresh bread. She liked the attention she received there. Guards stood taller, cashiers smiled wider. Sometimes cameras followed her walk, and she felt like the whole city was applauding. Kennedy said he would join her after a quick nearby meeting. Wait for me, he told her. We'll pick up a few things together. Sure, she said, already planning selfies by the flower stand. The sun burned over Lagos. Okada horns echoed like drums. Cynthia's driver parked the black SUV in the VIP spot by the entrance. She stepped out in an expensive Ankara gown with gold stones that shimmered like stars. People noticed. They always did. That was when she saw him. He stood near the cart bay, thin and dusty, with a worn bag slung across his shoulder. His ash coat was ripped at the sleeves. His hair was rough, like grass after a storm. His beard was heavy and unkempt. He was the kind of man people looked past, yet he looked at Cynthia as if she still had a heart. Madam, he said softly. Please, anything at all. I haven't eaten since yesterday. Cynthia disliked the sound of weakness. It irritated her. Go and find work, she said, walking past. I have tried, the man, Jerry replied. I have been everywhere, please, even bread. I'll share with the guards. Something in his voice made a few people slow down. His tone was calm and deep, not rough, surprisingly dignified for his appearance. Cynthia turned. Share with who? Why should I help you? Look at you. You're not sick. You're not old. You're just lazy. She lifted her chin toward the SUV. Do you think money falls from the sky? My husband is younger than you, and he built an empire. Be like him. Jerry nodded as if hearing a truth hidden in her words. Is he kind? He asked. What does kindness have to do with success? Cynthia snapped. Everything, he said. The word bothered her. Too plain, too easy. She felt the crowd's eyes on her. Pride tightened in her chest. If she gave him money now, they would expect it again. If she refused, they would still watch. Heat rushed to her face. Leave here, she said, pointing with her water bottle, before I pour this on you. He didn't move. He didn't beg louder. He only held her with calm, steady eyes. It made her feel small, and she disliked that. Her hand moved before her mind did. The slap landed. People gasped. A baby in a stroller hiccuped. A guard took one step forward, then stopped. Jerry barely reacted. His cheek turned red, but he stayed silent. A woman near the door whispered, madam. Another voice said, too much. Cynthia stood taller. Let that teach you. At that moment, the glass doors opened with a soft hiss, as if the building breathed. Kennedy came out with a grocery bag and a simple smile. He didn't notice the slap, he saw the man. The smile fell instantly. Kennedy, Cynthia called, trying to keep her composure. Let's go. But Kennedy's eyes were fixed on Jerry. The bag in his hand trembled, just as Cynthia's water bottle had a moment ago. His feet moved before his voice did. He stopped in front of the homeless man, lowered his head, and bowed. The crowd shifted like a wave. Guards exchanged glances. Someone raised a phone. Lagos had just seen a billionaire bend. Cynthia's mouth opened, but no words came. Finally, she managed, Kennedy, what are you doing? He's a beggar, She stopped herself. Kennedy rose. His face was no longer gentle. It was stern and hurt. He turned to his wife. Cynthia, what did you do? Her pride wanted to lie, but her throat refused. I slapped him, she admitted, to teach him to be useful. The words dropped like broken glass. Kennedy's eyes burned. 10 years of work, building, failing, winning, staying up late, praying for payroll, all of it flickered across his face. He lifted his hand without thinking, like a storm lifting a roof. Jerry's hand was faster. He caught Kennedy's wrist, not in anger, but as a friend would stop another from falling. Don't, Jerry said quietly. Not here. Not ever. Kennedy froze, his chest rising and falling. Then he turned back to Cynthia, his voice unsteady. Do you know who this is? Cynthia blinked. A beggar. Kennedy's reply cut the air open. This is Jerry Anderson. Silence fell. He owns 60% of Kentech, Kennedy continued, each word sharp. If he withdraws today, we shut down. He gave us contracts when no one else would. He stood by me when banks laughed. He made it possible for us to be here. Cynthia's knees weakened. The supermarket light seemed too bright. She felt smaller than the cap of the water bottle in her hand. But look at him, she whispered. Why is he dressed like this? Kennedy, still staring at her, answered. To see how people treat those who appear to have nothing. To find kindness where pride is loud. I told you, Cynthia. True wealth is quiet, it does not shout. Jerry gently released Kennedy's wrist. He turned to the crowd, not to Cynthia. Please, he said. There's nothing to record here. Phones lowered one by one. A breeze moved through the palm trees as if Lagos itself exhaled. Then Jerry did the unexpected. He tugged at his beard. The messy hair slipped aside. A thin wig came off. He removed the ash-colored coat. Beneath it, a crisp navy blue suit appeared, like morning breaking through night. Gasps spread. Guards bowed. Someone whispered, Anderson. Cynthia's world tilted. The bottle fell from her hand, bouncing in a circle on the floor. Her knees hit the ground. Sir, Her voice cracked. Tears came before she could stop them. I am sorry. I didn't know, please. Jerry looked at her, not with anger, but with a sadness that made her apology heavier. He remained silent. Kennedy's jaw tightened. Pain and shame battled across his face. He had warned her. He had begged her to show kindness. And now the lesson stood before them, dressed in a suit. A car door slammed somewhere. A child cried. The city moved on. Yet at the supermarket door, it felt like a courtroom. Jerry finally inhaled. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, a siren blared from the far lot. 2 men ran toward them holding a tablet with a flashing red screen. "Sir," one called to Kennedy. "Emergency alert from Kentech's control room. The main server just went offline." Kennedy's head whipped toward them. Jerry's eyes narrowed, sharp now, his kindness hardening into steel. Cynthia, still on her knees, looked up, her heart pounding so loud she could taste it. "Is this because of me?" she whispered. Jerry turned to her slowly, his face unreadable. "Stand up, Cynthia," he said. "This is when we find out what we're really made of." He reached into his inner pocket, pulled out a slim black device and tapped it twice. The screen lit up with a map of Lagos and a red blinking dot on Victoria Island. Jerry and Kennedy exchanged the same look old friends share when trouble approaches. "Move," Jerry ordered, and everything shifted. A siren screamed across the supermarket car park. Red lights flashed on the Kent tablet as 2 security officers sprinted toward Kennedy, their boots clapping on the hot Lagos asphalt. Shoppers froze, puzzled, half movie, half real. Kennedy let the grocery bag fall. Tomatoes scattered across the concrete, unnoticed. His gaze was fixed on the pulsing red dot. "Victoria Island server hub," he said, pale. "If that hub goes down, the whole system could collapse." Jerry slid the device back into his pocket with practiced composure. "We leave now," he said. Cynthia, still on her knees, felt both exposed and invisible. Her tears were fresh. Her chest stung as if the slap from earlier had rebounded onto her. She looked up at Kennedy for reassurance, but he wasn't looking at her. He was watching Jerry. In his eyes was something new. Respect mixed with fear. Kennedy. Jerry and one of the security guards hurried to the SUV. Shoppers parted as they passed. The guards bowed slightly as Jerry walked by, whispering his name in awe. Cynthia scrambled to her feet and chased after them. "Kennedy," she cried. "Please talk to me. What's happening? Why are you letting him?" Jerry stopped and turned, his eyes sharp and unforgiving. "Cynthia," he said slowly, "you'll ride with us. You slapped me today. I want you to feel what real power looks like when it strikes." She swallowed and complied. Inside the SUV, the air was heavy. Kennedy sat stiff in the passenger seat, staring out as Lagos traffic crawled by. Jerry leaned back. His navy suit caught the filtered sunlight through the tinted glass. His disguise had fallen away. His presence filled the car like a steady drum. Cynthia sat at the far back, clutching her gold jewelry as if it were armor. For the first time in their marriage, she realized she barely knew her husband's world. Jerry broke the silence. "Kennedy, remember 2015? The rainy season?" Kennedy's jaw tightened. How could he forget? Banks were closing in, investors pulling out. They were weeks from shutting down. "Who wrote the first $3 million check?" Jerry asked. "You did," Kennedy whispered. Cynthia blinked. She had never heard this. She always believed her husband built Kentech alone. Jerry turned to her, voice steady. "I was there when your husband had nothing but a dream. I backed him when no one else would. I brought investors when Nigeria laughed at him. For 10 years I stayed behind the curtain to see if he'd stay humble." He leaned in, eyes fixed on her. "And today I watched how you treated me when you thought I was nothing." Cynthia felt shame like a weight. But Jerry continued, "You didn't just slap a man. You slapped the very hand that fed your husband's empire." At last Kennedy spoke, low and heavy. "Cynthia, do you see why I warn you that wealth is fragile? Why I beg you to be kind?" She opened her mouth, but no words came. The SUV surged across the bridge toward Victoria Island. The skyline stretched before them like a crown about to topple. At the Kentech server hub, engineers poured from the building, uniforms damp with sweat. Smoke hissed from a power unit. Inside the glass-walled control room, screens flashed red. "System overload," someone shouted. "If the backup doesn't come online in 5 minutes, banks, airports, and hospitals will lose tracking data." Kennedy's heart raced. "This can't be happening. We secured this hub last month." Jerry entered and his presence demanded silence. "Show me the logs," he ordered. An engineer hesitated. "Sir, who are you?" Kennedy snapped. "Do as he says." The logs filled the wall screen, lines of code flowing like water. Cynthia stood in the corner, trembling as her husband and Jerry scanned the data. Jerry's jaw tightened. "It's not a failure. It's a breach." Kennedy's eyes widened. "A hack?" "Yes," Jerry replied. "It started 20 minutes ago, right when you were at the supermarket." He glanced at Cynthia in a way that made her knees go weak. The control room erupted. Engineers barked orders. Warnings flashed. The servers hummed like a racing heart. Cynthia's mind spun. The morning slap suddenly felt trivial, almost childish, but it had opened a door she couldn't close. Jerry's device buzzed. He checked it and froze for a half-second, then his face hardened. "What is it?" Kennedy asked. Jerry tilted the screen so only Kennedy could see. A message glowed. "You chose the wrong partner. Walk away now or Kent dies tonight." Kennedy's face went white. Cynthia stepped forward, shaky. "Kennedy, what is it?" "Tell me." He didn't answer. He only stared at Jerry, who closed the device and slid it back into his pocket. His voice was low and dangerous. "There's more at play than you realize. This attack isn't random. Someone close wants Kentek to fall." The control room fell silent. Engineers stared. Kennedy's fist clenched. Cynthia's chest pounded. Jerry's next words cut the air like a blade. "And I know exactly who." The lights flickered. The siren wailed again. The room felt like the verge of a storm. The lights dipped into brief darkness before the generators kicked in. Red alerts continued to blink across the massive screens. Every engineer stood frozen, eyes shifting between Jerry, Kennedy, and Cynthia as if awaiting a verdict. Jerry's calm voice finally broke through the chaos. "I know who's behind this." Kennedy's fist tightened, his knuckles turning pale. "Who?" Jerry's eyes swept the room before locking on Cynthia. He didn't blink. "Someone close, very close." The word struck her like a blade. Cynthia stepped back. "Me?" she stammered, pointing to herself. "You think I—" Jerry lifted his hand. "I didn't say it was you, but the breach required credentials only someone inside could provide. And whoever it is wanted Kennedy exposed enough to break." The engineers whispered nervously. Kennedy's jaw hardened. He turned sharply to his wife. "Cynthia, tell me the truth. Did you give anyone access? Even by accident?" Her chest pounded. "No, Kennedy, I swear. Why would I risk everything we built? I love our life." "I wouldn't." "Not life," Jerry interrupted, his voice cold. "Power. Some value power more than life itself." He pulled out a black device and began tapping swiftly. Streams of encrypted logs appeared. His fingers moved with practiced precision. Engineers leaned closer, whispering as they followed the speed of his work. Suddenly, he stopped on one line of code. This password was used. Kennedy's eyes widened. That's my secondary login." The room gasped. Jerry gave a grim nod. "But it wasn't you. The location points to ECA, the same building where one of your board members' offices is located." Kennedy whispered the name like a curse. "Andrew." Cynthia's head jerked up. "Andrew, the branch manager? But he's always been loyal. Loyalty is only proven when tested by greed," Jerry cut her off. "Andrew has been waiting for your position, Kennedy. If Kentek falls, he believes investors will turn to him. He's been feeding off your pride, Cynthia, using it to mask his moves deeper into the system." Her voice weakened. "My pride," she whispered. Suddenly, a loud crash shook the room. The glass doors burst open and 3 masked men rushed in, carrying metal rods. Engineers scattered in fear, diving behind desks. "Shut it all down," one of the men shouted. "Destroy the backups." Cynthia screamed. Kennedy instinctively pulled her behind him, but Jerry didn't move. He stepped forward, his eyes steady on the intruders. "You're late," he said calmly. The men froze for a moment before the leader snarled, "Anderson." The way he said the name chilled Cynthia. They knew Jerry, not as a beggar, not just as a shareholder, but as something else. Jerry's lips curved into the faintest, most dangerous smile. "If you came for Kentek, you'll have to go through me." Before they could react, Jerry flicked his wrist. A silent alarm triggered from his device. Panels in the ceiling opened and security shutters rolled down over the windows. "Guards," Kennedy roared, but the intruders moved first, swinging rods, smashing monitors, sparks flying. Engineers screamed. Cynthia clutched Kennedy's arm, shaking. Jerry, however, moved with startling speed. He caught one attacker's arm mid-swing, twisted it, and sent the rod clattering to the floor. A sharp elbow strike dropped the man instantly. The other 2 backed away, stunned by the strength of someone they had once dismissed as a beggar. Guards stormed in and overpowered the attackers. Kennedy rushed to Jerry's side. How do you even know how to fight like that? Jerry's chest rose and fell, but his eyes remained calm. Because I'm not just an investor, Kennedy. I built Kentech with more than money. I've been protecting it in the shadows for years. Cynthia's eyes widened. Protecting? How? Jerry turned toward her, and for the first time she saw fire in his gaze. Your husband thought I was only a silent partner, but I am the architect of this company's security. Every code, every firewall began with me. The disguise you saw outside wasn't about testing kindness. It was about staying invisible so enemies wouldn't know where the true power lived. The room went silent. Even the engineers stopped typing, staring in disbelief. Kennedy's breath caught. Jerry, all these years. Jerry placed a hand on his shoulder. I gave you the name Kennedy, but I never revealed the face behind it until now. Cynthia's knees weakened. She leaned against the wall, tears streaming down her face. The man she had once dismissed and insulted was not only her husband's benefactor, he was the unseen guardian of everything they had. He had always been the strength behind the empire, and she never missed a chance to remind others of it. Jerry's voice, steady but commanding, carried a weight that silenced the room. This breach isn't just an attack, it's betrayal. And if we don't act now, Andrew will destroy everything we've built. He turned toward the engineers. Bring up the secure link. Trace his signal. The screens flickered alive with streams of code. Cynthia's whisper escaped, shaky and filled with regret. What have I done? Jerry glanced at her briefly, his expression unreadable. The mask has slipped. Now you'll see what it was hiding. The trace locked onto a location in Isia. A red dot pulsed on the map. The betrayal had a name. Everyone in the control room froze. Engineers held their breath, guards tightened their grip, and Cynthia pressed against the wall, her heart racing. Jerry broke the silence. It's Andrew. He isn't just testing you, Kennedy. He wants Kentech to fall. Kennedy's throat tightened. Andrew had been his trusted man for years, always celebrating wins, always smiling in meetings. No, Kennedy whispered, shaking his head. Jerry's eyes never left the screen. He already has. Within minutes, Jerry and Kennedy were racing through Lagos in an SUV with security escorts clearing the way. Cynthia sat between them, clutching her bag like a shield. Kennedy's voice cracked. Why, Jerry? Why would Andrew do this? I gave him everything. Jerry looked out the window. Not everything. Men like him don't want to share. They want the throne. Cynthia closed her eyes. The word struck her. Hadn't she wanted the same? To rule every room, to be the one above all? The SUV skidded to a stop at Andrew's office. Guards stormed inside, sweeping the ground floor. Jerry followed with his device glowing, Kennedy close behind and Cynthia trailing, her heels echoing across the tiles. On the top floor, Andrew waited, tall, clean-shaven, in a sharp gray suit. He leaned back in his chair, a cold smile on his face. Well, the king and his shadow. His gaze shifted to Jerry. Anderson, I wondered when you'd step out from behind the disguise. Kennedy's voice trembled. Why, Andrew? After everything? Andrew rose sharply, anger spilling into his voice. I ran the branches. I brought clients when no one trusted your name. And yet in every paper, every boardroom, it was always Kennedy Williams. Never Andrew. Never the man who fixed your mess. Jerry stepped forward calmly. So you chose to burn the house down instead of build your own? Andrew's smile twisted. I chose to take what was mine. He pressed a hidden button. Instantly, screens around them exploded with code. In 5 minutes, he hissed, your empire collapses. Banks will shut down. Flights grounded. Kentech destroyed. Kennedy Williams begging at last. Kennedy lunged, but Jerry stopped him. Don't, this isn't fists. It's minds. His fingers raced across his device, sending counterattacks into the stream. The two men clashed in silence, one in a polished suit, the other calm and focused. Their battle fought through lines of code. Cynthia's chest tightened as lights flickered. Sweat beaded on Jerry's forehead, but his hands didn't stop. For the first time, Andrew's confidence faltered. Jerry froze, narrowing his eyes. It's not just Andrew, Kennedy gasped. What do you mean? Jerry traced another signal. A second red dot appeared, not in Isia, but on Banana Island. Inside Kennedy and Cynthia's mansion. Cynthia's breath caught. No, that's impossible. Jerry's voice was sharp. Someone inside your home is feeding Andrew. And if we don't stop them, your family is in danger. Chaos erupted. Guards shouted orders while Andrew laughed bitterly. Even as his system struggled, Cynthia clutched Kennedy's arm, her voice trembling. "Kennedy, who's in the house right now?" Kennedy's face turned pale. "Only the staff and your cousin Vanessa. She came this morning," Cynthia staggered. "Vanessa?" Jerry's device beeped sharply. He glanced at them, his face serious. "We don't have time. If Vanessa is involved, the mansion isn't safe, and she holds the final key." The air grew heavy. Suddenly, the office lights went out, leaving them in complete darkness. Andrew's mocking laughter echoed in the shadows. The only glow came from Jerry's device, its light cutting across his steady expression. Guards switched on their flashlights, beams slicing through the blackness. "You can fight me here all you want," Andrew sneered, his voice chilling, "but the real battle is already inside your house." Cynthia's breath caught. The thought of her cousin Vanessa betraying her twisted her stomach. Kennedy gripped her hand tightly, though his palm trembled. Jerry's calm voice steadied the moment. "We move now. If Vanessa holds the final key, she can shut everything down before we return. She's not just targeting Kentek, she's targeting your family." Sirens wailed as their SUV tore through Lagos. Jerry sat in front, eyes locked on the glowing map of his device. 2 red dots pulsed, one fading steadily at Banana Island. Cynthia leaned close to Kennedy, whispering, her lips shaking. "How could Vanessa do this? She grew up with me. I trusted her." Kennedy's jaw tightened. "Greed blinds people, Cynthia. We've both seen it before." The ride dragged on, every bump in the road like a heartbeat. Finally, the convoy screeched into the Williams mansion. What was once a peaceful home now stood like a war zone. Inside, silence reigned. Only the faint hum of the generator and the ticking clock could be heard. Guards spread out. Jerry's device beeped again, guiding them upstairs. There, in the study, they found Vanessa calmly seated at Kennedy's desk, typing furiously on his laptop. The screen's blue light washed her face. Without looking up, she murmured, "So quick. I thought Andrew would delay you longer." "Vanessa, why?" Cynthia's voice cracked. "Why betray me?" Vanessa's eyes lifted sharp with resentment. "Why? Because I'm tired of being invisible. I watched you marry into wealth, wear jewels, command servants while I got nothing. Andrew gave me a chance to take what I deserve," Kennedy's voice thundered. "You call destroying my company a chance?" "Not just your company," Vanessa smirked. "Your empire, your name. With one keystroke, I erase everything. And you, Cynthia, you'll finally know what it means to beg." Cynthia staggered, tears blurring her eyes. Jerry stepped forward, calm and steady. "Vanessa, you don't understand. This isn't just data. Hospitals, flights, banks, people's lives depend on these systems. Press that button and you destroy far more than a family feud." Vanessa laughed bitterly. "Don't preach to me. This isn't about lives, it's about power." Her finger hovered over the enter key. Kennedy lunged, but Jerry stopped him. "No. Anger won't save you. Strategy will." He opened his device, his fingers racing in a digital battle against hers. The screen flickered as their commands clashed. "Stop him," Vanessa shouted. But the guards hesitated, torn between loyalty and duty. No one moved. Cynthia stepped forward, tears running down her face. "Vanessa, please. I was wrong. I've been arrogant, I've hurt people. But this won't fix it. You'll ruin thousands of lives." Vanessa's jaw tightened. "You think one apology changes everything?" "No," Cynthia whispered, dropping to her knees. "But I'll spend the rest of my life making it right. Don't become worse than me." For the first time, doubt flickered in Vanessa's eyes. Her hand hesitated. That was Jerry's chance. His final keystroke locked her out and the laptop screen went black. "No," Vanessa gasped. Jerry's voice was calm, firm. "It's over." Guards escorted Vanessa out as her screams echoed down the hall. Kennedy collapsed into a chair, torn between relief and anger. Cynthia trembled on the floor, shame overwhelming her. "You saved us again, even after everything I did to you," she whispered. Jerry knelt beside her. His voice was gentle but firm. "Cynthia, arrogance almost destroyed everything today, but humility saved it. Never forget that." Kennedy looked up, his eyes wet. "Jerry, I owe you more than I can repay." Jerry shook his head. "What you owe me is simple. Protect your company, protect your family, and remember how fragile power is." Cynthia pressed her hands together, tears streaming. "I will change. I swear it." Jerry studied her, then nodded. "Then maybe something good can come from this." The next morning, Lagos headlines read, Kentek survives midnight attack. Another followed. Billionaire's wife leads campaign for kindness and humility. At the press conference, Cynthia stood beside Kennedy and Jerry. For the first time, she didn't speak of power or wealth. She spoke of humility. 2 years later, when their first child was born, Kennedy and Cynthia named him Jerry, in honor of the man who saved not just their company, but their lives. Still, Cynthia carried one truth in her heart. The lesson had begun with that single slap, and it would stay with her forever.